John Nichols on the line with The Nation, thenation.com, the Washington correspondent who lives in Wisconsin. How do you do that, John?
I go to Washington just enough.
Okay, great.
And you know what? To be honest, Tom, you know this very well. We've actually done stuff in your studio in Washington.
Sure.
But you're at your best when you get out of that city.
Okay.
When you go out to America, when you go back home to Michigan or back home to all the other places you've lived, you have to be there.
I think all of us kind of pop out of our comfort zones.
Yeah.
But speaking of comfort zones, let's talk about actually, here's one of mine. I used to compete with Steve Case when I ran forums for CompuServe, and then when CompuServe basically got eaten by AOL, I ended up working for Steve Case, and for a very short period of time. And therefore, when Huffington Post got bought by Steve Case, I said, that's it. And I haven't visited Huffington Post since then. But apparently, Amanda Turkle wrote a piece for Huffington Post titled Scott Walker Quietly Consolidating Power in Wisconsin. And, Amanda's a brilliant writer. And, and looking at this, this kind of war on democracy, I wanted to ask you about that, and I wanted to ask you how the recount's going. I got several emails this morning, one in particular from a guy who was there either a couple of days ago, I guess it was, who said that this thing is starting to dance around the edge of being a scam. So anyhow, those two topics in the 5 minutes we have here are on my list. Anything on your list, feel free to toss in.
Well, let's start out with the article that you referenced, and let's remember that you and I talked about most of this roughly 2 or 3 weeks ago. That's not to in any way denigrate the great work that Amanda and other reporters are doing. But if you recall a few weeks back, we had a discussion about the question of whether Scott Walker might import Michigan's law, which allows the governor to essentially take over communities and appoint a czar to run them rather than their local elected officials. And what we talked about back then is still very much at play in Wisconsin. It's unlikely that Walker will purely imitate what Governor Schneider is doing in Michigan. Rather, he's doing a series of small-scale assaults that, when you add them up, are actually in many senses more serious. Among the things that he proposes to do is to take away the ability of school boards to regulate charter schools, even in their own district, to give that to a statewide board that he would appoint.
Whoa.
Yeah. Think about it.
So much for running for your local school board.
Well, it wouldn't mean much, would it?
No, and it's a great, you look at, I would guess a third of probably all politicians in America started out at the school board.
Huge numbers of them. Bill Clinton, when he left the White House, said if he ever ran for anything else, it would probably be the school board.
Yeah.
And so that's number one. Number two, they propose to take away the ability of town boards. 97% of Wisconsin is in townships. Take away the ability of town boards to set their debt limits, to basically to do their own budgeting.
Wow. So that's what Rick Snyder is doing in Michigan, or a variation thereof, actually.
Right. So town governments are out of the game. Then he's taken away their ability of county, city, village, town, and school boards to do their budgeting as regards labor union contracts. He's essentially telling them how they can do it and forcing them with cuts in state shared revenue to attack their unions, effectively defining labor relations from the top. He's also, and this is where it gets very interesting, he's replacing the boards that are trying to undermine the boards that now choose or should choose our leaders of our Department of Natural Resources. That's the traditional way we did it. The governors have tried to take that away and have in some senses for years. Undermining how our Department of Natural Resources is run, and undermining how our Veterans Board, the Veterans Board traditionally has veterans appoint the administrator.
That makes sense.
So taking all that away, shifting that all over to the governor's office, and appointing...
Who is not a veteran, by the way.
Oh, of course not. Not even a college graduate.
Right.
And appointing dozens of new czars, political appointees, to go into all cabinet-level agencies. These czars would report to him, not to the head of the agency necessarily, and thus not be under the oversight of the legislature. So when you add this all up, and then finally put on top of it the fact he wants to gut out the powers that our elected Secretary of State has as regards notary publics, trademarks, and other, minimal but still
John,
real oversight of corporations.
How much of this is coming from the American Legislative Exchange Council, ALEC?
Every damn bit of it.
Seriously?
No, I mean...
From this right-wing group that's funded by 300 corporations and the Koch brothers.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the charter school thing, that's both ALEC and also the DeVos family, the Amway people that have run a lot of stuff. So, no, you can trace it all back. I mean, Scott Walker went a week ago to Washington to meet with all these folks, and it wasn't like he went there to tell them things.
Yeah. No, absolutely. John, we got 40 seconds left. The recount.
The recount is it's continuing. We're down to Waukesha County. We know that's the biggest mess, but it's not the only one. The fact of the matter is that this recount is going to produce a supposed victory for David Prosser, the conservative justice who was challenged. But there have been so many irregularities exposed in the process of the recount that I predict there will be a lawsuit based on it, asking the courts to intervene and to review and deal with the really quite massive.
Will there be another? Will they just redo the election?
I wish, but we can't guarantee that, Tom. This is an ongoing battle, and we, unfortunately, in America, we should redo elections much more often than we do. It's the best way to...
Is Walker appointing the judges who will rule on this?
Yes, don't rule that possibility out.
I'm not. You've seen it all over the country.
Yeah.
John Nichols with The Nation. TheNation.com, of course, is the website. And John, one of the most insightful and thoughtful and incisive commentators on the political scene in America, and particularly in Wisconsin this week, anyway. John, thanks so much.